Across Australia, the wheels of industry turn 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These machines are tough, and the teams of people running them are even tougher. From deep underground to high in the sky, these heavy metal marvels are essential to our daily lives. But what happens when these massive machines break down? Teams of mechanics, engineers, fitters and boilermakers step up to battle against tight deadlines in some of the harshest working environments on the planet. Doing the vital repair work to keep these heavy metal wonders of industry alive. On this episode of Mega Mechanics, trek outback to the new Acland coal mine, where temperatures are soaring and an old hand on the tools, Steve Frosty Frost, is faced with a new challenge.
Being a bigger truck, everything's a bit bigger and heavier.
A huge engine needs a change-out, but an unscheduled delay means it will take more than just manpower to move this mass of horsepower.
The big crane we were expecting this afternoon got double booked.
The stakes are even higher, or rather heavier, at the Broadwater Sugar Mill, where lead fitter Peter Hewitt is guiding his team through a dangerous lift.
If one of these fell, there'd be a hell of a lot of damage.
With only a few days remaining to strip the mill, he's feeling the crush.
Under a bit of pressure at the moment.
Senior licensed aircraft maintenance engineer Patrick Donoghue must restrain the full power of an A330 Airbus to test the engines.
Okay guys, we're going up in power.
Both jets must pass strict engine run procedures, and the team's in for a bumpy ride.
99.07, here we go.
From planes to trains, meet the spin doctors of Queensland Rail, like rolling stock technical advisor Ben Noakes.
There's the book, and then there's experience.
Shaving steel wheels into shape under 45 tonnes of rail car is how the City Network rolling stock maintenance team roll, ensuring the safety of thousands of commuters.
If we can't provide the train, people don't move.
160 kilometres west of Brisbane, near Oakey in regional Queensland, is the new Acland coal mine. Here, the largest truck in the fleet is the Caterpillar 793. Weighing in at 380 tonnes with a top speed of 60 kilometres an hour. When one of these yellow beasts is fully loaded, it's like driving a two-storey apartment down the road. Keeping a fleet of mine trucks running like clockwork is a constant challenge and relies on a team of mechanics to maintain these mighty machines 7 days a week. Steve Frost, known to the crew as Frosty, has been working on heavy machinery most of his life. He's an old hand on the tools around here, but that doesn't mean he's not up for a new challenge.
This is the first time we've taken an engine out of a 793 truck here, so it's all a bit new and exciting. A few different things to the other trucks. Of course, being a bigger truck, everything's a bit bigger and heavier, so there's some challenges there as well.
This Caterpillar 793 mine truck has come in for an engine replacement. A new low compression engine is on standby for the swap over, offering improved fuel consumption and lower noise levels. This Cat C175 engine is a 16-cylinder 4-stroke quad turbocharged diesel engine, packing gross power of 1,976 kilowatts or 2,650 horsepower, driving a 6-speed automatic transmission. Weighing in at 12 tonnes, this massive engine will haul 200 tonnes fully loaded. But there's no time to boast over impressive specs. Frosty has to have this truck back in the pit, hauling overburden and coal in just 3 days.
Production always up us to have the trucks back in service, so it's pretty crucial we stick to the timetable.
Field service fitter Joel Oxenbridge is on site to handle the changeover of this massive 16-cylinder engine.
This is one of the bigger challenges that we've had in this district, pulling out an engine of this size.
Rounding out the workload is Harry Mitchell, a specialist mining engineer. Working on an engine this size can be an intimidating task.
This is my first time taking out one of these engines, so it's going to be a bit of fun seeing it lifted out. Good experience.
As the Caterpillar specialist, Joel is the leading hand, preparing the engine for removal.
What we're doing is just sort of start taking off all the lines. We're just going to take off anything that's sort of going to hold us in.
A job that requires disconnecting the radiator, fan and hoses to drain the coolant and engine oil. Also loosening and unfastening hundreds of electrical wires.
Anything that's going to attach to the chassis rails and anything that's going to hold us back from the back side in.
Before they can finally remove larger components such as steering pumps, exhaust manifold and transmission, Joel's taking the practical approach.
I think we'll start at the top and work our way down.
And down is where you'll find Frosty, working underneath the engine.
Got one bolt there, it's a bit tight in the threads.
Experience tells Frosty if it's rust, that just calls for a new bolt. But if the threads are damaged, that could mean an expensive replacement pump.
Pump's probably run into about $10,000 or $15,000. So hopefully it all comes out all right.
With a costly pump motor hanging on the turn of a thread, Frosty carefully shifts the spanner above his head.
Got him. There's a lump of dirt on him. It's holding him up. That's good. No new pump needed.
With so many moving parts, even the smallest bolt could bring the entire job to a standstill. Weighing in at 12 tonnes and about the size of a small family car, it's going to take more than manpower to move this mighty horsepower free of the truck chassis. To remove the engine, a large slew crane is scheduled to arrive on site to lift the load clear of the truck. Knowing this, Frosty and the crew are under pressure to ensure all parts are unfastened and will clear the engine bay.
Hopefully we'll have all this disconnected next few hours. Should be ready to pull the engine out this afternoon.
But Frosty's plan for a punctual engine lift could be left swinging in the breeze. The crew has received a message from the crane company.
There was sort of talk that there could have been low on a driver, so we mightn't get a big enough crane to pull this engine out this afternoon.
To stay on track with the schedule, this massive engine has to come out of the truck before the end of this shift. Pushing the deadline is not an option the crew wants to face. But ever resourceful, Frosty has an idea that may just save the day. Sometimes it's the little things that can make a huge difference. Over 300 kilometres southeast of New Acland, the Broadwater Sugar Mill has been crushing sugarcane since opening in 1881. During harvest from June to December, the mill operates around the clock to produce over 1 million kilograms of sugar every year. There's a lot of load on machinery. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot that can go wrong. Something engineering manager Stephen Wagner has had to deal with throughout his extensive career.
Been working on this site for 37 years, most of my working career.
Stephen knows the mill has taken a battering from 6 months of crushing sugarcane around the clock.
The process is basically very simple, but there's a lot of complexities that sit behind it.
Milling is the process of squeezing juice from sugarcane between heavy cast iron rollers under high pressure in a set of mills.
There's 4 mills with 6 rollers in each mill. Each roller weighs about 20 tonnes. And then we have 2 hydraulic cylinders on the top roller, and we actually loaded up about 1,700 tonnes of hydraulic force to squeeze the juice out of the cane.
The mill rollers are made of a 2-metre long solid steel shaft, covered by a 1.1 metre cast iron shell with deep grooves. Sugarcane is crushed between the grooves to extract juice. Every hour, 250 tonnes of cane is processed through the mill in an around-the-clock operation.
So the cast iron shell is a consumable. We actually wear it away 25 to 35 millimetres each year. It actually gets smaller and smaller. And then after 6 or 7 years, we take it out. We'll send that away for repair.
The sugarcane season might be over, but work doesn't stop. the mill is now in a period known as the slack.
Each year in December, we completely dismantle the mills, and then we rebuild or replace the componentry that needs doing for each of the 4 mills.
Stephen's workforce and his pre-planning for the slack is about to be put to the test. The plan today is for lead fitter Peter Hewitt and his team to remove one of the 20-ton crushing rollers from the mill.
Big challenge is heavy lifting, not much room to move it, to get it out. You've got crushing and pinching, you can catch onto things, so you just got to watch the item you're lifting out and make sure no one's underneath while you're lifting, and we stand clear of the load while it's up in the air.
The on-site gantry crane is working overtime as equipment weighing tons is shuffled around to clear the way for the enormous rollers to be removed.
So on your lifts, things may get in your way that you don't think of, and you just got to work around it. We've got a good crew, so they know what they're doing.
Meanwhile, preparation to remove the roller has begun and years of bearing grease is scraped away. The 30-ton gantry crane is prepped for the lift. And the rigging procedure is carefully planned to ensure the roller will be properly balanced when the lift commences.
If one of these fell, there'd be a hell of a lot of damage to plant equipment, as well as if someone's underneath it, there's not much chance for them.
Finally, the gantry crane is rigged and in position above the 20-ton roller. With the load secured, the lift is underway. It's a weight similar to a double-decker bus, and the task Peter faces is just as difficult as reverse parking one.
Hey, hang on, Bert.
Peter's quick to spy a chain that's caught.
Sorry, mate. Just go easy, touch. I didn't notice the chain. The chain not getting caught up there, mate.
One quick flick and it's free.
Right. Right, you're right now, mate.
But he's not clear of the mill yet. It's a slow precision task. One slip of a chain or tight corner brushed too closely could be disastrous. The headquarters for Qantas A330 and 737 heavy maintenance is at Brisbane Airport Hangar 2 and 3. This custom-built facility can park 3 aircraft wing to wing. Work here is run with meticulous precision by dedicated team members like Senior Licensed Aircraft Maintenance Engineer Patrick Donoghue.
I have been working on aircraft in Qantas for 28 years. I can always think that there's thousands of people flying in the aircraft I worked on, and I got from A to a Z safely. It's just personal, really. I make sure everything is done correctly.
Patrick's job today has him preparing to run the jet engines of this A330 Airbus. The aircraft cannot be cleared to fly until engine performance is thoroughly checked while it's safely on the ground. Equivalent to restraining the combined horsepower of more than 20 Formula One cars at full throttle. But there's a lot to do before Patrick can unleash the power of these jets.
6:30 in the morning when I turn up to go over an area of my responsibility and check to make sure that it's safe. Qantas is very, very strict here on safety.
Every 18 months to 6 years, an aircraft will be taken out of service for heavy maintenance checks. This work is imperative to assure the safety of passengers and crew, and meticulous planning is required to ensure it happens within strict schedules.
Obviously, if there's a mechanical issue, we have to fix it. We can't let it out without fixing the defects, but passengers will be waiting for this aircraft tomorrow morning at 7:15.
One final box to tick in the maintenance schedule will test the performance of the A330's 2 General Electric CF6 jet engines at full thrust. Weighing in at 2 tons and costing millions of dollars, the jet engine is what keeps a plane flying. Air is sucked into the engine through the fan blades, then into a compressor. The compressed air is mixed with fuel and ignited in the combustion chamber. Hot exhaust gas comes out of a nozzle, thrusting the engine and the aircraft forward. Patrick must sign off on these engines being fit for service and meet the strict criteria set by the airline. Safety is priority, and the crew run through the procedures in the event of an emergency.
Is everybody aware of the processes? In the event of a fire, etc.? Now, Mark, you're in charge down there. Can you tell me who's on the aircraft?
It's just us three in the cockpit.
Us three.
Me and Kelvin. So
Right.
it's 5 total.
So any issues, myself and Al will give instructions on what to do. You've got to familiarise yourself with the cockpit. You've got to read up on the instructions. There's various scenarios can happen up there. You could have an engine fire, you could have an APU fire, you could have a fuel spill. You've got to know what to do.
For this test, Patrick might be in the captain's seat, but he's not alone on the flight deck.
Thank you. I have an experienced engine runner always on the right-hand side. I've also got an avionics technician with us who is appropriately trained. And combine the three of us, we have enough knowledge to do whatever happens.
We're ready for hydraulics, mate.
Al, you ready for hydraulics? Yeah. Okay, clear.
With his team assembled and initial checks completed, the aircraft is ready to move to a safe location outside the hangar to be powered up.
Hello, ground. Hello, Paddy. Are you ready to go? We are ready to go. If I can confirm, brakes are off. We're clear. All right, okay, stand by.
Outside the aircraft is Mick Little, licensed aircraft maintenance engineer in charge of ground operations for the engine test. In constant communication with the flight deck and spotters on the ground.
It's got a lot of momentum, you know what I mean? If we do roll and we do accidentally hit something, we're very, very quick, you know what I mean, with grabbing and stopping.
His first challenge is to safely manoeuvre this huge aircraft out of the hangar. It's a crucial few minutes. And slowly but surely, the aircraft is pushed out onto the tarmac. And Mick's taking no chances. Spotters are on hand to ensure no part of the aircraft will impact any of the hangar's structure on exit. The tug moves the plane to an area clear of the workshop.
So we've got some quite substantial, big, strong chocks in there to stop it from jumping, but there has been situations over the world where other airlines have unfortunately, you know, during engine runs, jumped chocks.
With 180 tonnes of airbus to hold back, these chocks, along with the brakes, have their work cut out for them. Safety always comes first. The aircraft might be due back in service tomorrow, but it's a job that can't be rushed. As always, there is the risk of the unknown.
We could have a fire on the engine.
The possibility of an engine fire is never ruled out, but the slightest indication of trouble would immediately have Mick contact the flight deck, see the throttle pulled down and the test crew safely evacuated. The question still looms, will these engines pass or fail? 12 kilometres southwest of Brisbane Airport is an equally busy transport hub, Queensland Rail's main maintenance workshops. To keep the trains running on time, this place runs 24/7, maintaining a huge fleet. With more than 200 of these 72-metre-long rail cars on the books, the rolling stock maintenance team are always on the go, just like the 45-tonne carriages they regularly service. After a stint in the Navy, technical advisor Benjamin Noakes swapped to the high seas for solid ground. Riding the rails comes very naturally. In fact, it's something that runs in the family.
I'm second/third generation railway. My father's been here for close on 40 years. I've been here for 8 years.
With that kind of pedigree, Ben knows only too well the daily pressure that comes with keeping trains literally on track. Keeping the wheels in motion is what Ben and the maintenance team specialise in.
We've got a set amount of trains we need to provide each day to enable to run the peak. So in our great machine, you've got drivers that expect a train to be there, people expect a train to be there.
Inside this shed is the machine in charge of delivering a smooth, safe ride. An underfloor wheel lathe that accurately shaves steel rail wheels back into shape. A train wheel is beveled to make it wider on the inside. This means that when the train shifts left or right on the track, the diameter of the wheels can change. But because the wheels are connected by an axle, they still spin at the same rate. Effectively, this means that when turning, the wheels will travel different distances per revolution. Rolling along 850 kilometres of suburban tracks means these steel wheels are subjected to constant wear and tear.
Over time, metal on metal contact results in wear. So you need to bring the wheel back to a profile to enable it to continue running on the track, to go through things like points and around curves.
On the Brisbane suburban fleet, each 3-car train has 12 wheel sets supporting up to 150 tonnes. Ensuring they're in prime condition is a top priority.
This groove cut into the wheel, this is about the condemning mark on the wheel, which is about the minimum size. So the life of your wheel is that much metal.
The next train to roll over the underfloor wheel lathe has a wheel set displaying symptoms of thermal cracking. As the maintenance crews set up the machine, deadlines are tight, and this train is required back in service later today.
The pressure's pretty constant, so they got to be maintained well.
Trains and timetables go hand in hand. Keeping hundreds of thousands of commuters happy and on time is a daily challenge. A challenge the maintenance team must meet between the morning and afternoon rush hours. So racing the clock is a daily battle for the crew. With rush hour approaching, it's a job that can't run over schedule. At the new Acland coal mine, a mighty Cat 793 mine truck is in the workshop for an engine replacement. And some disappointing news puts Frosty into troubleshooting mode.
It's a big crane we were expecting this afternoon. Got double booked apparently, and we're not getting it. It won't be available till the morning, so we'll try and use our little crane to do it.
But will his optimism pay off? Can a smaller crane handle the load? Dave Sipple drives it over to the site to find out. The crane positions the boom directly above the engine. It's a cautious time, as distance and load capabilities must be precisely calculated.
The crane has limits, and the further you telescope the boom out, the less you can lift. You know, you don't want the crane to counterbalance on the front wheels and do a nosedive or anything, so we'll just have to test and see if we can carry the load at the distance we have to.
Safety on site is a high priority. While the crane might have the muscle to handle the weight, it's the outstretched boom arm that's worrying Dave. There's no room for guessing with machines and loads this large. Throwing the crane off balance would do some serious damage to equipment and potentially injure the workers.
I think it's a bit too far for us, mate. I'm going to be about 4 tonne over from where I'm sitting, yeah.
The engine isn't going anywhere today. As much as Frosty wants the job to keep moving, so this truck can be back in the pit earning its keep, safety is more important.
We're not going to be able to use our crane, unfortunately. We thought we might have gone close, but it's a bit further reach than we'd hoped for, so it's just not going to work for us. I was looking forward to lifting it out today, but it's not to be. So we'll just have to suck it up, have another go tomorrow. Well, who knows what can go wrong.
Big lifts are also on the cards at the Broadwater Sugar Mill. The crushing season is over, and as part of the site's annual overhaul, lead fitter Peter Hewitt is supervising the intricate removal of some of the heaviest mill equipment. The risks and responsibilities of the job sit firmly on his shoulders. So he's constantly checking for pinch points and anything protruding that could catch the 20-tonne roller, throwing it off balance and crashing into the mill below. It's a tight squeeze, and Peter knows this is the point in the lift where rollers can become stuck. One false move by the crane operator on the controller could be disastrous.
Nice and steady, eh?
And with one final lift, it scrapes through within millimetres. Slowly, the 20-tonne mill roller travels across the mill below the gantry crane and down to a safe resting position.
Off the main, pretty close to being center. Come down.
This roller needs to be loaded on a truck this afternoon, heading north to a foundry to be re-shelled with new grooves. But there are more tasks to complete before this massive roller is moving anywhere.
Now we've got the roller out. These brasses, which are the bearings, they've got to come off. So we'll use a crane to drop them to the ground, and we'll strip the roller completely. So all these wear rings need to come off. There's some lip seals under here that need to come off, and we'll clean it up. And I'll go and measure the journals underneath the brass, get the diameters on that, measure the diameter of the roller and the width of the roller, just so we know how it's worn from beginning of the season to the end of the season. Once that's done, we're going to send it away to get reshelled, get a new roller.
The bearings may not look like they require a crane lift, but being made of solid brass, these pieces weigh hundreds of kilograms. For a mega mechanic, a crane is just another tool in their repertoire. These rollers are the workhorses of the mill and are often where breakdowns will occur.
They break under fatigue in operation, so that causes an operational shutdown of about 2 days. All the maintenance crew will come in and work around the clock to change those rollers out to get us going.
The constant workload the mill is subjected to means serious maintenance. But if Peter can't get this roller stripped before the truck arrives in the next hour, this enormous roller won't be going anywhere. At the heavy maintenance hangar in Brisbane, senior licensed aircraft maintenance engineer Patrick Donoghue has the equivalent power of more than 20 Formula One cars at his fingertips. He's preparing to put an A330 through its paces with a final engine assurance run at the end of a 21-day maintenance service.
Windows closed, your window's closed on, mine is closed.
On the ground below, Mick Little acts as the eyes and ears for the crew on the flight deck.
Didn't close down there, Mick.
Everything's clear and ready to go.
Right, I'll get back to you.
Standing by.
Thank you.
It's Patrick's responsibility to ensure everything is checked and checked again. Mandatory processes and lists of more than 100 procedures are in place to ensure nothing is missed. The takeoff thrust of one of these aircraft could propel the plane to speeds of more than 580 kilometres per hour, or more than 160 metres per second. So Paddy thoroughly cross-checks procedures.
Pre-start checklist complete, tick. Ground clearance we've cleared. We're starting number 1 engine. Ignition start. Are we okay, Mark? Keep your eyes out. Confirm N1 rotational.
N1 rotation.
Starter code out at 50%, confirm.
Beginning on the left engine. N1 means the rotation of the fan blades. As engine speed increases, the wheels are firmly secured with chocks and the brakes enabled to prevent the plane moving forward.
Starting number 2 engine, guys.
The right soon follows, and both engines are left idling for 5 minutes. Engine parameters must be checked before the engines can be pushed to full thrust.
22.3 and 22.4. EGT 360, 360.
P2.
61.6, 61.6.
Fuel flow.
550, 540.
Oil quantity.
18.5, 17.4.
It's a passing grade. The first hurdle cleared, but that was the easy one. After being inactive for 21 days, it's time for this Airbus jet to do what it does best. Roar into action. Time for Patrick to push the throttle and run the engine all the way to 100% to ensure the maintenance team's hard work has paid off. At Queensland Rail's main yard in Brisbane, the underfloor wheel lathe crew are preparing to put the wheel set under the knife, a 4mm metal alloy cutting tool designed to precisely shave solid steel train wheels back into shape.
No day is the same, no defect is ever the same. A lot of experience required for the operators to know how to deal with the defects. how much material to take off the wheel, and your job's trying to get as much life out of the wheels and get the best operating cost out of them.
As its name suggests, the underfloor wheel lathe is housed down in what looks like a mechanic's pit. To get the job started, the operators wrangle the carriage into place.
They first have to move the train to the right position on top of the cutting tool, align it, do a scan of the wheel, so to figure out how much wear it actually has. So they're actually physically beneath the rails and working underneath the train, machining the wheels whilst they're in the train.
With 45 tonnes of train car directly above them, safety is always a high priority.
There's always risks in operating heavy machinery, but it's all about how they're managed. Specifically over here, you've got the swarf, or the machine bits that come off the wheel. They're razor sharp.
For safety, eye and hand protection is worn, as is hearing protection when the machine is lathing the wheels. With everything set, the team can now start the process of scanning.
There's various sensors in the lathe that'll actually take a scan of the wheel, and the wheel is of an expected shape, so it'll take a scan of that and then compare it to the required shape, and it'll give you a difference, and it will calculate how much it needs to take off the wheel to enable it to get back to the correct shape.
Just a small amount of tread wear is discovered on this set. Only fractions of a millimetre difference is a good result. Some thermal cracking is discovered, which is commonly caused from friction. Left unchecked, thermal cracking can cause the formation of holes in a wheel. And defective wheels mean a rough ride for passengers. That's where the Atlas Rail lathe intervenes. It's technology designed and built in Australia, precisely shaving mere millimetres that make a huge difference on the tracks. The team have decades of experience and they agree with the computer's findings. So it's time to put the lathe to work. It's a big job, and this is just one of 12 wheel sets to get through. Will the team be able to stay on schedule and get this 3-car train out on the tracks for the afternoon rush? It's a new day at the new Acland Coal Mine in regional Queensland. After yesterday's disappointments, the large crane that was due to turn up has finally arrived on site at 7 a.m. this morning. With a load capacity of 40 tonnes, this crane has enough lifting power to remove the truck's 12-tonne diesel engine. With everything disconnected, the engine is ready to take flight. Rigging the lifting hook with heavy chains, rigger Russell Whitby and crane driver Trevor Sharpley are regularly called in for the big lifts at New Acland. With the chains attached, Joel prepares to undo the engine bolts that hold this heavy metal beast to the chassis. Frosty is desperate to make up for lost time.
Crane's hooked up, we've got the engine mounts undone, so we've got to lift the front of the engine first so that we've got clearance at the back to lift the whole thing out as one piece without fouling on anything. So pretty much ready to go now.
With the boom positioned directly above the engine, Russell makes a final check of the rigging.
Oh mate, everyone's clear, no one's going to get hurt, no fingers in the way.
Trevor is responsible for operating the crane and works closely with rigger Russell to guide him through the lift.
Yeah, just making sure that nothing's going to get caught up, break anything off, or all the bolts are out, everything's loose. Just everyone eyes on the task.
Righto mate, we're going to lift it out.
The lift begins with caution. But there's a problem. The engine's not moving free of the chassis. Crane operator Trevor lowers the engine, releasing the load. The men are frantically looking for a hose, a bolt, a clamp, anything still attached to the engine bay. Joel spotted the problem. A small hose clamp weighing less than a few grams has caught up the mighty 12-tonne engine. Slow and steady, the lift is on again. It's all eyes to the sky as 12 tons of cat power rises into the air. This is where the crane really shows off its lifting power.
We're going to set the engine up on stands. We had to go and rob them from under a dozer in the workshop, so hope no one notices.
We're going down.
The engine is finally out of the truck and on the ground. Now a full day behind schedule, Frosty and the team have no more time to lose. The crane will be back on site tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Racing the clock, the new engine must be prepped and ready in time to go back in the truck. The pressure is on for this job to be as efficient as possible to get the truck back in the pit and back into production. But right now, it's going nowhere without an engine. The team at the Broadwater Sugar Mill are in the process of dismantling the 4 on-site mills in order to completely overhaul the facility, ready for next season's crush. The maintenance work is integral to the functioning of the mill, and countless tasks need to be done, from pulling down overhead platforms to dismantling drive shafts. It's dirty and strenuous work, and there's always a multitude of jobs to be done.
Very interesting industry, very good training ground for young engineers, young tradespeople and process operators.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the mill, young apprentice Acland Vlahos is busy preparing for more roller removals.
So I'm taking the hydraulic hoses off the Acland drives and blanking them off so they don't get contaminated. So later on we'll take these Aclands off the mills so we can take the rollers out. We're under a bit of pressure to get it done safely and efficiently.
For Peter and the team, the day has had its challenges running to schedule. Stephen Wagner knows from years of experience exactly what makes this mill run.
The most important thing is to have the right people in the right places, and they all do their jobs and they know their jobs. That's what's really important. Because at the end of the day, we're a team, and the team needs everybody to do their bit to make the place function.
Peter made his truck delivery on time, and the roller was ready to be sent north to be reshelled. Over the next 6 months, the mill is completely disassembled for maintenance, and the entire operation reassembled once again for the new season's crush. A routine at Broadwater Sugar Mill for over 135 years. The A330 jet engines have passed their idling check and are ready to be pushed to maximum power. The left engine is the first to roar into action.
Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, guys, we're going up in power.
Okay, clear, Paddy, clear.
Mick, okay, clear. Mark, you right? Yes, mate. Al, yeah. 99. I'm going up. Come in on figures again. I'm going up on the right engine first, the balance engine. 83.43.
83.43, yes.
So what we'll do is go up slowly. 83.4. We get that setting first?
83.43, yeah, if you want to do that on both, and then we can just go straight up to 99.
That's okay, within limits there.
Yeah.
Now, time to really push them.
99.07, here we go.
On the tarmac, the chocks have got their work cut out. On the flight deck, they're really feeling the vibrations, getting more intense with every second.
Okay, we're going to leave it here. 2 minutes. Tell me when the 2 minutes is up.
That one engine is really shaking things up. As it winds up to full thrust, the immense power rocks the plane, letting the engineers know who's boss. At full throttle, these 2 turbulent minutes seem endless for the testing crew.
Tell me when it's up.
4, 3, 2, 1. 2 minutes is up.
Coming back on power, guys.
settle down, bottom. Then we go up, we do the same on the right engine.
Michael,
Copy.
any leaks?
No leaks. All clear, all clear.
Okay.
Success.
We're going to do the same on the right engine within a minute. Are you okay?
Yeah, clear.
One engine down and one to go. Time to check procedures and prepare for a second engine run. Will this one have the right stuff and pass with flying colours as well? Meanwhile, at the Queensland Rail Workshop, the maintenance team are putting the underfloor wheel lathe through its paces. The lathe guides the machine's metal alloy cutting blade to precisely shave away defects from the wheel, like those caused by thermal cracks, with the operator on standby to clear out the razor-sharp curls of swarf. More filing shaved off by the lathe means a more comfortable ride for commuters.
Wheel machining on trains is experience. There's the book, and then there's experience.
Using a profile gauge, the lathe's progress is checked. With the machining on this wheel set nearing completion, the maintenance team train their sights on the next pair. Thanks to their work, passengers are in for a smooth ride, which gives the team at City Network Rolling Stock Maintenance something to be proud of.
The challenge, every day of turning those trains out, skill, pride and professionalism, really.
At this pace, the team will have this 150-tonne train ready to roll, right on schedule for the PM peak. Back at New Acland, a costly delay has the team running one day behind schedule. Final preparations are underway to get the new engine ready for the lift. Mechanical fitter Frosty is keen to get the truck operational to avoid further delays so it can get back to the pit and into production where it's urgently needed. With the 40-tonne crane back on site, everything must run smoothly to get the new engine into the truck. It's a balancing act between Frosty and Russell.
Yeah, I've got about a foot we can go down.
As Frosty carefully manoeuvres 12 tonnes of engine into the chassis.
Rightio, come down. Happy? She's in, the engine's in. Just a matter of doing up the mounts now, tightening everything up, plumbing it all up. Hooking up all the hoses, torque converter and everything.
Frosty might be able to breathe a bit easier.
No way, it's not gonna. Just move the top towards me, so you move the back out towards you. We go down a bit.
But he's not out of the woods yet. There are many hours of work ahead, reconnecting hydraulics, electrical, and piecing the truck back together before it's ready to start hauling loads.
Been a bit of a hectic week. Had a few delays. Crane not turning up on Tuesday. Blew the whole schedule really, but we got the engine back in now, so we're pretty happy with that. See you guys. Thank you.
It's a tough job with a lot of pressure, but Frosty's not the kind of guy to let it weigh him down.
It's pretty good. It's good fun. Makes a bit of a laugh. If you can have a laugh and still get stuff done, it makes for a good week.
But when it's all said and done, with hoses reconnected and connections tightened, will the new engine start and run?
Pretty confident when they go to push the button, it'll all be pretty sweet.
Making this Cat 793 mine truck set to roar back into production in the pit. Outside the heavy maintenance hangars in Brisbane, Patrick Donoghue is about to push the throttle on a second engine run up to full thrust.
Okay, Mick, we're going up on number 2 engine, all clear.
Once again, the engineers feel the raw power of just one A330 jet engine, shaking not just the cockpit, but the entire 60-metre long aircraft.
Okay, 2 minutes is up.
Coming back down the power, guys.
Another excellent result. And the engine assurance test is over.
Brisbane ground, this is Echo Bravo Victor. We've completed our high power runs on Mike 3, thank you.
Everything checked out okay. Both engines passed. We're on the way back to the hangar now.
We are ready to move when you are.
With both jet engine runs a success, Patrick can now sign off on this component of the aircraft being ready for service. But the job is not over.
On completion of engine runs, the plane comes back to the hangar and we open all the cowls and the fan cowls and we get the guys in to just quickly have a look at all the fronts of the motors for any sort of debris and stuff like that. The backs of the motors, we check all oils, fluids, and also anything that we change on routine maintenance and non-routine maintenance, just to see if everything's intact.
Not only enormous in scale, detail and technology, the hundreds of thousands of moving parts in this A330 is staggering. And Patrick, Mick and the team check, test and maintain every square centimetre of it, which ensures passengers stay safe while flying.
Every day we do this sort of thing and it's very second nature to us, and we do a lot of training to ensure we're up to date with everything, and also working with our Brisbane Airport Corporation as well, make sure we're adhering to all the rules and regulations. Yeah, get out there and do our stuff and bring it back in safely. I'm very, very honoured, very, very proud to work for our national airline.
True to schedule, there were no delays getting this A330 back to its gate. Thanks to this highly skilled team of mega mechanics, passengers can once again take to the skies on board this Airbus and safely travel the globe.